Hello and welcome back to another week of the Madmen with a Box live stream. I'm OZChris. I'm joined with ProfPixel.
That's me.
I will not accept that doctorate, but that's the name he's got on the screen.
We should be joined by some more friends of the podcast soon, I believe.
I mean, and given that our topic is, well, our episode that we reviewed is school reunion, who knows? Maybe a former Madman might be back.
It's never going to happen. I've given up.
Never.
Given up.
But before we get into that, before we get into school reunion, we have some news.
Do we? We do?
We
do!
I guess. What should we... Should we talk about the Nosferatu in the room?
Yes, let's start with that.
Yes, so coming out on the 28th of August, Doctor Who Dracula by Paul Mars. The Doctor and his companion arrive in a quiet seaside town called Whitby. The significance of the place evades them until they happen upon a theatre production, Dracula.
I didn't notice he was holding a stake in his hand before.
I mean, this doctor, among a couple, is very ready to kill someone.
Just like Joe Corallo.
It's true.
Yes. So Dracula.
How many times the Doctor met Dracula now? That was fake Dracula. Probably has met a real Dracula.
No, he's met vampires, but I don't think it's real Dracula, right?
I don't know. I will say though, the compositing on Barbara's face doesn't look good. It's very odd looking.
Not the best, no.
It's not the best. Other than that, seems interesting enough. It's a very particular, going off the cover, TARDIS pairing. If it's just going to be the Doctor and Barbara. I think I'm going to assume it's everyone, but it just says Doctor and his companions, so multiple.
Yeah, maybe it'll split them up with him and Barbara.
Possibly.
Yes. Let's go, and speaking of covers, talk about... We recently reviewed The Fugitive Doctor first box set. It's not out yet, I don't believe, right?
Be out soonish.
Soon. I did send it to you, right?
Yes, I have edited it.
Yay!
I think so. It should be up soon.
But they have gone ahead and just to keep us interested, in July, The Fugitive Doctor will return for her second box set,
which I think is at the same time as when the 13th Doctor stuff drops as well.
Yes. No connection.
Obviously.
It's just time.
But no, it's proving to be popular. You apparently you can't buy the physical edition of the first box set anymore.
They sold out.
It's sold out. Even then they've I think they constantly limit how much they're gonna make anyway nowadays.
Yeah, but usually when it goes ahead and it does sell out, it says out of stock. They're pretty much done. Oh, we did all we're gonna do. Hope you liked it. But this sounds like that they might be making more, which
maybe. This is the second of only 2 that's been announced. So
yeah, well, hopefully it's hopefully they can. Well, let's not spoil our reviews.
But
speaking about this vein, though, we could talk about the fact that we can listen. If you go on the Twitters, you can go ahead and listen to... Nope. Did I not post it? I didn't do it.
But no, basically, what he was going to lead into is that the apparent theme for Call Me Master, which comes out this month, was released, and it's not that bad. It's pretty good.
It's better than what they did for the Fugitive Doctor intro,
which was just used 13's theme.
Yeah, But it sounded better, I swear. It did. Better than it sounded when you watched it on the television. Yes. It didn't sound like a white noise machine. Okay. Here's some news, maybe. We can bring it down to 3 potential dates for the start of the new season of Doctor Who. It might be the 5th of April. It might be the 12th of April. It might be the 19th of April. It might be tomorrow. Who knows?
So yeah, Anua Ellams, who was one of the new announced writers for season 2, may have accidentally spoiled when the release date is. Thank God someone's telling us, because the BBC and Bad Wolf doesn't, especially if it's going to be like 2 months away.
Yeah. And we do have a little tidbit. It looks like that episode 6 is rumored to be Eurovision themed.
Oh wow, because I love Eurovision. I could not give a shit about Eurovision.
I can't either. But what I do give a shit about, hi Gevain.
Hey everyone, how you doing tonight?
Doing good. Happy to have you. And we have reached the end of our news.
There we got something.
We did it.
Last night it was only at one thing.
That's true. So
it was literally only at one thing.
Thankfully, we were able to up that to
God
a handful.
No, I feel like April is probably going to be the safe bet for the new series starting, because it was what, May last year.
So, do you think that means March is when we're going to be getting everything? Hello to Sean in the chat. That March is when we're going to be going ahead and getting all of our, hey, what's going to happen? What new season? Here's your teasers.
Probably.
I missed the Yes, you did.
Yeah, probably. I'm going to say probably March. We're going to start getting the whole. Here's your teaser for a teaser.
Hello to 50%. Yes.
Hey, Connor.
Actually, Sean might have been interested in the cover for the second box set for Fugitive Doctor. Sean's our big Finnish fan.
But no, I don't know why they're being very hush.
No idea
about the release date.
They're nervous,
especially if the rumor is going to be especially if that episode 6 is supposedly going to be Eurovision themed. Well, when's Eurovision? Like I said, I don't give a shit about Eurovision, so I don't know the dates. May. So I think April feels like it's a safe bet if the supposed rumors is that there's going to be a Eurovision themed episode. Which is weird because wasn't it I don't know, I might just be pulling this out of my ass. We had a musical episode last season. And I feel like that would have fit better around Eurovision time if they wanted that. So I don't know. Connor asks, how long a gap do you guys reckon we'll have to wait for a third series? That's the trick, Connor. There's not going to be one.
Don't do that. I don't like that. Stop it.
I'm going to bet it's going to be the same. It seems like we're getting, at least so far, Doctor Who every year. So far we've had Doctor Who every year. So it's going to be probably another year wait.
Yeah.
See, we will know as soon as season 2 drops, because what was it? Season 2 was being made around the same time that season 1 was released. So we'll know if there's another series once the second one drops.
Yeah, really. That is our only indication about what it could be.
So unless they're being hush-hush because it might spoil this upcoming season, I don't know. Then again, I have argued for Russell to shut his mouth up. So
And you got it. You shut up.
I got it.
Be careful what you wish for.
Monkey's paw. Yeah, I wanted him to shut his mouth every once in a while, but not like this. Please, Russell, please tell us anything. I don't care about your EastEnders watching. Please tell me about Doctor Who. Even about the shitty spin-off, I don't care about. Just tell us anything.
I mean, nothing about that spin-off either.
No, it's mainly been like Russell Tovey has said something about it, and that's it. We should get used to it. This has been Russell's fucking MO. He'll say a lot when it's on, and then nothing in between, unless it's like some special event.
Yeah, that's pretty much everything that we have, which is a whole lot of nothing. Hopefully next month everything starts picking up again.
Hopefully next month. Well, something to talk about.
Yeah, but we do have something to talk about tonight.
Yes, we do. So we rolled the proverbial madmen dice. Not official. We can't sell those. And we have landed on the Series 2 third episode, technically fourth if you count the Christmas special, which is you really should be because it's David's first episode. School Reunion, which sees the return of classic Who companion Sarah Jane Smith. This was broadcast on the 29th of April 2006, and it sees the Doctor face off against Giles from Buffy. Hey, Buffy news for everyone. It's coming back, apparently.
Yeah, a revival series with Buffy being back.
I haven't watched Buffy in like 2 million years, so that's cool. That's cool, I guess. But yeah, Anthony Head as the lead villain, Brother Lasser of the Krillitanes, and we have our introduction to the Krillitanes, which is cool, even though like every appearance they have outside of the show and other expanded material, it's just this design, even though the show is like, oh yeah, they could just look like anything.
Well, so what they say is that they've at least had those wings for
10 generations.
10 generations.
But even then, it just feels like you could make it look like anything, and you just default to Bat.
Yeah.
But no, before we get into all of those details, School Reunion. We'll start off with Joe. Your thoughts on School Reunion?
Sure. I mean, I watched this way back when it was like airing. So, I was friends with and still keep up with people who were fans of the original run who were watching as it was coming, the new stuff as it was coming out, and having thoughts and opinions on it. And I thought I was going to like this, where I have not watched this episode in a long time. In the beginning, rewatching it for the first time in, well over a decade, probably, I was like, oh, like, maybe I like this more than I remember, because the beginning's like pretty good. But then about halfway through or so, I'm like, no, yeah, this is still has a lot of problems. The biggest problem for me is the rivalry between Rose and Sarah Jane is so forced, and Rose is like so like needlessly out of character and just like nasty at points for like no real discernible reason. And it just rubs me the wrong way. Like, I'm like, why is she like being this awful? So that still grates me a bit. There's a lot like the writing in this episode is very sophomoric, especially compared to some of the other stories. Like this is a very uneven season. But it's like to go from this right to Girl in the Fireplace it's like that much more jarring when like, because it's like you go from like watching this, which feels like it was written for like 8-year-olds, to then like watching Girl the Fireplace, which seems like a decently like young adult sort of story. Like some of the humor and stuff doesn't quite work. It's like a really dire situation, and then you have the whole bit where Rose sees like the one girl get burned, and they like bring her to the side room, and they're just like, "Don't call the ambulance, it's fine." And then like she's screaming bloody murder, and it's like she normally makes noises like I'm like it's like there are so many Doctor Who stories where you could make that joke and it works. Like it's not like that joke just doesn't work. It's like it didn't quite fit with what was happening. It almost felt like forced in, like they were like, it's too good of a joke not to make, even though it doesn't fit for the scene. And like the story is just filled with a lot of that. And it's nice seeing Sarah Jane and K9 back. It's worth the rewatch or the revisit. Like it's worth it for that. The way they handle it is weird. Like when she talks about having to, being abandoned and, is waiting for you. And it's like, were you? Because the last time you saw him was in the Five Doctors. So like,
They don't think about that.
Like, so there were things like that where you're just like, really, like we're just
Doctor Who being inconsistent,
like that sort of thing where it's like, for me, it's like, yeah, Doctor Who could be inconsistent, but it's like you're making a real big deal about Sarah Jane coming back. She didn't appear that many times on TV after the initial departure. It felt very much like, well, we have to write it this way. Like that's the better hook, to act like this didn't happen, for her to have the like abandonment angle. Like there just seems to be a lot of little bits throughout the story that are like that. Like we need the story to work, so let's kind of fudge and finagle things to make it work. The villain and the threat is fine. It's very standard fare. I give it a little more of a pass at a story like this because I can understand them being like, we can't let the villain overshadow the return of Sarah Jane and K9. So I can kind of like be like, I get that. But yeah, that's, it's worth it, but like it's not great is kind of where I'm landing on it. But I should let other people talk about this.
Gevain.
Yeah, I can see where Joe's covered from. It's like I hadn't watched it and hadn't watched this episode in a bit, and I was looking forward to it because Sarah Jane Adventures was the show that I watched with my daughters when they were younger, and they really enjoyed that show. And that was like, other than the first episode I watched with them, which was Blink, which was just scary. So that I've always said to people, if you want to introduce Doctor Who to like newbies, that's like the easiest one to do it in, because you don't have a lot of the Doctor in it and all the craziness. And there's good point of view characters, and the main character whose name of the story I can't remember right now, who I think comes back as the Doctor's daughter, it feels like, or something like that. But I think watching it the second time, and I think maybe this is where Joe's feeling like the forced part. So when he mentioned about 8 years old, because it's almost like was this meant to be a backdoor pilot for the Sarah Jane Adventures?
Yeah.
And basically, like it's set in the school. You have the whole K9 bit. Like the villains feel kind of like a Sarah Jane Adventures kind of villain. And it's like, and it sort of got that tone because, and this is really, it's funny because this is the episode we're watching my family. This is when the family all turned against Rose. It was this episode. because they really, she was just really unlikable. Just really unlikable. It's like the way she treats Mickey for the most part, especially at the end where he decides to come along and she gets like real miffed, and it's like it's this. It's like, yeah, I'm like, I wasn't real familiar with the Fourth Doctor when I watched this episode, but it just seemed like what I was aware of with the classic Doctor stuff is there wasn't like all of this romantic tension that was in the revival. So it was like they were taking the romantic tension that was definitely part of the revival, what they're trying to do with Rose and the Doctor, and they're trying to like basically retrofit it to like other companions had that same kind of relationship with the Doctor previously. And that just, I never got that vibe off of any of them. Like, correct me if I'm wrong, but I just never, from the ones that I've watched, I've just never gotten that vibe off of with the female companions. Like they had like just romantic tension with the Doctor. Maybe with Perry, but not really, especially when one of them tries to choke you out after you were what? Who knows?
What do you
Maybe she was
mean,
into that kind of stuff.
chemistry.
Hey, I'm just saying. Maybe she was into that kind of stuff. Maybe she had a safe word, which is no. I don't know. But anyway, I think it's perfectly fine. It's a perfectly fine story, but it's like, yeah, it feels like they're trying to use Sarah Jane to kind of push forward the romantic tension between the Doctor and Rose. And it's like they should have just kind of, I think it worked better when it's just like Mickey does a better job of pointing out or highlighting that Rose she's kind of like, she's kind of like making this thing between her and the Doctor out to more than it is, and she isn't really like, it's almost like not serious, but it works better with him than it does with her. It's like the fact that Sarah Jane would be threatened by Rose, that's the part I don't find believable. That was just the part I don't find believable. But I enjoyed it. Like I said, I think Anthony Head was still playing Giles at this time in the Buffy series, I think. So that was like a nice little, haha kind of bit. I think he was. I'm not sure.
Or it was towards the end of Buffy, I think.
Yeah, it's towards the end of Buffy or something like that. So there's that little jib. But yeah, it's a perfectly good episode. But like, yeah, I'm with Joe. It's like all the abandonment, the romantic bits, the jealousy. I mean, it's a good joke on Mickey's part, like, hey, your worst nightmare, man, the missus and the ex, that kind of stuff. It's like you get it, but it's just like, I don't know. It's like I get what was going on between Rose and 9. I don't. For some reason, with her and 10, this feels a little bit. It feels a little bit early or something like that. And like I think it was more believable with 10 and why am I blanking on my girl, the companion right after this? Why am I blanking on her name?
Martha.
Martha, thank you. I think the romantic tension bit between Martha and 10 was a lot more believable than the one between 10 and Rose. And this doesn't help it. It doesn't help it if it's trying to, in terms of selling it. So yeah, that's my 2 bits.
I have to say, the most shocking thing though is in this episode when Mickey wakes up K9 to try to figure out, how can I open this door? How can I open this glass door? We are in a car. First time that K9 is useful. No, I'm kidding. I just need a reason to post this clip.
How long, K9?
Insufficient data.
Yeah, you never fucking know the answer when it's important.
I've been posting that forever. Yeah. I learned recently that apparently there are people on the internet that do see Four and Sarah in a somewhat romantic light. I do not agree. I'm with you.
Yeah, I
You
don't
can
think so.
you can find someone on the internet saying they see anything in a
I
romantic
know, I
This is-
know,
this
but
is
I
the
don't
internet.
mean like, I mean like
If
somewhat.
they're the
normal.
opposite gender, if they're the same gender, if
I
they're
mean,
different
somewhat normal.
species,
I mean, somewhat-
anyone will see a relationship in there.
I mean, hell, in the Jetsons, that robot was trying to fuck that filing cabinet for years.
yes, I get that, but there's a different way. Like if you look for it, yes, I didn't go looking for it. It randomly came up on my Twitter feed one day. I was like, oh, I don't agree with this.
But that's like with 12 and Claire. I don't. I'm gonna say Clara at 12. It's like people make that point all the time. I don't see it. To me, it was more like a father-daughter thing, if anything. It wasn't like him being romantically involved with her. It was more like he was very protective. I mean, that to me was like that was one of the things I liked about Clara and 12 and the Danny Pink dynamic. It was more like the two of them, and he was like the really grumpy, overprotective father-in-law, if anything, not a romantic rival.
I mean, I can see that though more than because like one of the in that first episode, he goes and he tells her, "I'm not your boyfriend, Clara," and she's like, "I know," and he said, and he says that I didn't say that was your fault. It's because he doesn't feel like he can be at this point. Whereas with 11, he was young and fresh in his step, and it was a little bit less weird for him. I don't know. This is a 1,200-year-old alien we're talking about.
Yeah. I have to rewatch him. But go ahead.
But when I don't get that between Sarah Jane and 4 at all, and that is exceptionally forced here. I don't like that. You do get the nice moments, but I really think it comes down to Toby. What is it? Toby Woodhouse.
Yeah.
It comes down to his writing style, because if you look at some of his other episodes, like the God Complex, overall it's a good episode. There are some odd bits here and there in it, though. This one has more odd bits than that, but you can see how they're written by the same person.
Yeah.
And that's what it comes down to. I can't be as lenient with the cruelty. I think they're really bad. Like they look really bad. I don't like it at all.
Oh, I'm sorry. Were you waiting for them to get the Disney budget back in 2006? Oh,
Okay.
You can't do anything with that.
When the Slovene look better, there's a problem. Okay.
Yeah, well, that's because the Slovene had an actual suit.
Okay. I don't know. I'm just saying.
Wow, how bat-phobic of you.
I think that the adipose fat babies look better. Okay.
That's because they're designed to be cute.
There you go. And they were cute.
They were. I would have had so many plushies of those. Anyway.
Hey, that's something we could have talked about. They're not releasing the Beep the Meat plush.
Oh crap! That's right. They're not.
Yeah.
I guess they realized that
they're fucking dumb and they don't know how to do marketing.
Well, I mean, the Beep the Meat was forever ago now.
Yeah, it's like perfect time. Release it after like after the 60th anniversary or during the 60th anniversary. You would have made fucking money. And they're like, actually, no, it's like a year and a bit later. Now we're not doing it.
It's time to bring back Beep the Meep again. Return of the Beep. What would be Return of the Meep? But anyway, talking about this episode again, though. Yeah, there's too many weird things. I'm not a big fan of the alien. The concept is neat, but this episode feels so forced to me. Oh, we have the key of creation through the kids' programming. We have the key of creation. We can make it clay. Okay. I don't like that either. There's a lot I don't like about this episode, and that's the sad thing. Because you should want to like it. Because, I mean, it's the return of Sarah Jane and K9. But that's pretty much the only reason to revisit this episode again. The rest of it is all nothing. That's how I feel. Chris.
I must be taking crazy pills because I like this episode. I really like this episode. Now, granted, yeah, the whole like relationship thing is really forced. But I can see why they did that. The whole relationship, the whole themes of abandonment, it's all supposed to tie into the finale. Is essentially setting up the finale where the Doctor has to leave Rose. So I get why they did that, but it is like going back and watching Classic Who, and it's just like they're not in love, or Sarah's not in love with him. They're just best friends.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is very forced. Krillitanes, they're kind of whatever villains, but I think Anthony Head is great. I think he knows what role that is, and he's nailing it. He knows how to do weird, creepy, like sinister. His whole conversation with 10, that's probably my favorite scene in that episode. But yeah, the whole return of Sarah Jane Smith, it is still one of the best choices of bringing back a classic companion, because it's the easiest. She's just on Earth. It still ties into what she did. She's still a journalist, and she was one of the most popular. So it makes perfect sense to bring her back and to work her into this plot. Yeah, the stuff with Rose. Yeah, Rose is just weirdly out of character and just jealous and bitchy. Especially when it's decided that Mickey wants to join. She's like, oh, I'm cool with Sarah Jane. I want her to come with us, but Mickey. I can't have Mickey here. Now, granted, it's Noel Clarke, so I wouldn't want to be with him anywhere.
I was about to say, how dare they compare Noel Clarke to K9? How dare they? K9's best boy.
But no, I really like this episode. It's fun. I think it's a fun episode. Yeah, it takes some weird liberties with a lot of like aspects of it. And I will say, Joe, the whole like dinner lady exploding. Yeah, it's not a particularly like, it's a weird gag, but again, it ties into the plot, and that's the whole revelation. It's like, oh, we just kill him with the oil.
Yeah,
because at least Rose mentions like, don't make sure you don't touch that stuff. The dinner lady exploded. It's like, oh, it's working. It's working into that conclusion. It's like, this is how we stop that weird looking bats. Their oil. They can't stand their oil.
Their own oil, which is actually, I like that too. They change so much that they can't stand their own substance. It's
yeah.
So what are you guys' thoughts on Kenny?
Kenny,
the
he's
kid.
Exactly.
He's
now
the
best line. We are in a car.
No, but
he ties the whole thing together.
He's the school's most favorite person, but I'm pretty sure he's going to jail for blowing up the school.
And he blew up the school.
Since everyone's like, Kenny, it was Kenny. It's not Kenny and these random adults. No, Kenny, one of the relief teachers, one of the new dinner ladies, and then 2 random adults blew up a school. It's like, no, Kenny blew it up. Kenny is now on a watch list.
They start to show off by killing a kid too. Man, this episode's brutal. Send a kid to jail and then they kill a kid. Otherwise,
but no, I really like this episode. It's also a solid reintroduction of Sarah Jane to then set up her own series. It's good. I liked it.
okay. Joe, you want to start us off with some numbers then?
Sure. I'm a little torn, but I think I'm gonna go 7 out of 10. I think there's a lot of flaws in this episode, but it's still entertaining. It's still great to have Sarah Jane and K9 back. It's a little easier to go back and watch something like this a little more cynically now, where like now if they do a return, it has to be a whole big deal. It has to be an obscure companion. It's a whole weird sort of mess.
Oh yeah, you make a good point, because they don't do the big like, here's Sarah Jane, with which they do when it's like, I'd like you all to meet everyone, Miss Sarah Jane Smith, and the doctor turns and he has that big like shock, like happiness. They don't do that. They just introduce her beforehand, like literally before that. It's just like he's just talk. The principal's just Anthony Head's just talking to her about like, because she's giving a whole piece. It's not like there's big. They don't do the big fanfare thing straight away. They ease you into it, and then it makes sense to have the big fanfare thing because it's the doctor seeing her after so long.
Yeah, and it's like, so you do end up with a lot of bits that are like excessively cheesy, but then it's also like, what else would you do if you didn't do that? Would people then be annoyed that there wasn't any fanfare? You know, like since it's like the first time that they're really doing it in this new series, it's easier for me to sort of look past some of those bits. But I also don't think it makes up enough for it to give it more than a 7 out of 10. I think I'm being fairly generous, and I think that's a solid rating for it. So.
Gevain?
Yeah, it's a 6 for me. It's a solid 6. Like I said, I think it's a good episode. You know, it does a lot of what it needs to do. If I had to say, to me, one of the strongest scenes in the episode was, you know, Sarah Jane is moving around the school. Is kind of it came first, was reminiscent of Partners in Crime. I think that was the title of it, like when Donna and Ten are kind of going through the building, and it's like, and they're doing a thing, and they eventually run into each other. To me, one of the more powerful scenes in the episode was when Sarah Jane comes across the TARDIS. I thought that was a great shot. It's almost like this godlike shot, that she's almost like looking up at it as a bird's eye view, and it's like you almost get a sense that you get the sense, I think, with Elizabeth Sladen, she gives this sense of like, it's almost like she's almost in a sense terrified that she's walked back into this life again, or the doctor has come back into her life again, and then because she doesn't really quite believe it. And then when she sees him and she recognizes, she kind of eases back into it. But there is this, what she does do well, what the episode does do well, is it does sell the trepidation of what it means to be a companion. Like, you know, how it kind of really stays with you in a way that's not necessarily a good thing. And I thought they would have done a better job with the episode. It would have been a better episode if they went with that, as opposed to having that same energy go into like romantic jealousy. Just be like more like kind of like, I think the abandonment thing would have worked better if it wasn't for the romantic jealousy being commingled with it. So that's why I give it a 6. And I love K9, so glad to see him.
I'm going to agree with Gevain. I'm going to go to a 6 because I like moments of it, but I can't say that I really love anything in this episode. And this is one of those episodes that really helped justify my dislike of Rose. So, 6. Chris.
I like this episode, even with some of its faults and weird choices. So I'd probably give it but it still doesn't warrant enough to go 8 or higher. So I'd go about 7.5 at the highest for it. I think it's good, but there are definitely better episodes in this series.
Yeah,
that we've already talked about. The Devil Two-Parter.
It's
Love and Monsters.
No.
If Landry was here, I can already hear him.
Don't sell that merch.
It has problems, but think about it. Yeah. Okay. So 7.5 is your final answer?
Yep.
7.5.
7.
7.66. It's really interesting, like I said, because if you look at like the God Complex, Vampires Venice, I barely remember that one. I love the two-parter Under the Lake Before the Flood. I really love that episode. But most of these episodes I have trouble recalling. So it's just interesting to see what he wrote after this. But yeah, that's our show.
Yep.
Yes.
No.
No.
Nope.
No.
No. We're not going to guide us out of here?
Never.
No. We're going to be stuck
okay.
here.
Okay. That is it for this week's live stream. Thank you everyone for watching. Remember to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Tune in for next week's, which will be something. If you haven't already, go check out our review of The Living Darkness, the most recent of the First Doctor Adventures box sets. And sometime in the future, the Fugitive Doctor Most Wanted review will be out.
Ooh, all right.
You could say it's our most wanted review.
I'm delaying it by 5 months now.
Goodbye, everybody. I long to
Where
see
is he?